I employed him to monitor my spouse, strictly in a fact-finding capacity, no romantic entanglements or emotional involvement. But as I followed him through surveillance, read his reports, and conversed with him on late-night calls, I found myself yearning for his voice rather than the truth I sought. I would weep myself to sleep as Jorge claimed extended work hours. I questioned my sanity, feared losing control. But the day Luis presented a picture of Jorge alone at a diner, it dawned on me that I had been hunting the wrong infidelity. I was the first to transgress. The most distressing part is, I am unsure if I regret my actions. Before proceeding, let me express my gratitude to each one of you who subscribes to this channel. Your support means the world to me, and to all my returning viewers who haven't yet subscribed. Thank you as well. I eagerly await your subscription click, as it fuels and energizes this channel. You didn't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below, which I always read and appreciate your insights on these real-life tales. Now let's get back to the story. My name is Deborah, aged 44, residing in Oklahoma. For 11 years, I was wedded to Jorge, a charismatic, ambitious man who once filled my entire universe. However, in our 11th year, something shifted. Jorge started distancing himself. Less eye contact, less affection, less interactions overall. I'd ask if he was all right, and he'd smile as if nothing were amiss. But that smile, I knew it well. It was the one he used with clients when concealing secrets. Late nights ensued, followed by canceled date nights, then hushed phone conversations in the garage. When I asked him once, just once, if he was unfaithful, he chuckled, dismissing my concerns as a result of watching too many TV dramas. Yet I wasn't amused. Instead, I felt my world crumbling apart. So against all odds, I did something I never thought I would do. I searched for private investigators in Oklahoma, convinced that I needed tranquility above everything else. First encounter with Luis, an unexpected individual. Middle-aged, composed, attentive, his voice reminiscent of a radio host. Rarely smiling, instead probing with numerous queries. His curiosity spanned Jorge's routine, companions, habits, and behavior. Initially, our interactions were professional. Luis would provide updates every 3 days, text messages, photographs from surveillance, voice notes detailing Jorge's activities at work, gym, or solitary in his car, always reassuring there was nothing suspicious. However, I disliked hearing those words as they made me feel like the culprit. As the nights grew chilly, Jorge became more withdrawn, and Luis remained a constant presence, just a phone call away. One evening, while crying on the couch, Luis texted, "Want to chat? I'm free." For 2 hours we talked. He never overstepped boundaries, he merely listened. That night, for the first time in weeks, I felt understood. Upon our next face-to-face meeting to discuss photos, I applied makeup, a strange decision for which I couldn't explain. I rationalized it as an attempt to feel normal again. But then there was the photograph that altered everything. Jorge, solitary at a diner, engrossed in a book. No phones or women nearby. Luis met my gaze and said, he might merely be lost, not unfaithful. That moment, the ground seemed to shift beneath me, for I had already begun visualizing what it would feel like with Luis's hand in mine. Hiring him to expose my husband's lies, I ended up exposing every shattered piece of myself instead. I was unsure if this was love or betrayal, disguised in a more appealing form. The first time Luis touched me, it wasn't as you might think. It wasn't passionate, forbidden, or premeditated. It was gentle, a barely noticeable touch. My hands trembled as I scrutinized the photos of Jorge, and I didn't realize my tears were falling until Luis gently wiped one away from my cheek. One solitary act broke down the barrier I'd clung to for weeks. I withdrew, offered an apology, explained I was weary, overburdened, perplexed. He simply nodded, remained silent, but the void between us echoed profoundly. I didn't ask him to depart, though I should have. That night, Jorge arrived with roses instead of Casio. No music, just red blooms, crumpled paper, and a tired grin. He expressed his longing for me, invited me out that weekend to watch the old film I adored. I agreed, but my affirmation was hollow, heavy as wet clothes I couldn't discard. That weekend, Luis did not contact me. He granted me solitude. I scrutinized my phone. Eventually, I understood something had shifted, and it wasn't about Jorge. 2 days later, Louis reached out again, just one message. Everything okay? I fixated on those words as if they were a reflection, because no, everything was not fine. Not with my heart. Not with my marriage. I found myself yearning for a man who wasn't my spouse. I inquired if we could meet, stating I merely wished to converse. We arranged to meet in his car at a secluded location near the lake. Nothing untoward occurred, yet everything changed. I revealed how I had felt unseen for months, how Jorge had ceased acknowledging me, how I had lost sight of myself. Louis did not attempt to remedy it. Instead, he listened. And when he eventually spoke, he disclosed something that shattered me in an unexpected manner. He confessed that he had been cheated on before. It happened 2 years ago, he said. She told him he was dull, too secure, insufficiently thrilling. So he immersed himself in this job, focusing on catching deceivers. And now here I am, witnessing it all unfold again, merely from a different perspective. We remained silent for an extended period after that. Then I reached out to take his hand. He accepted and neither of us withdrew. The following morning, I awoke before dawn and prepared Jorge breakfast. I can't say why. Perhaps it was to assuage my guilt. Maybe I wanted to convince myself that I still loved him just as much. Smiling upon seeing the meal, he reminisced about our youthful days and even kissed my cheek. Yet my mind wandered to Louis. The irony stung. For months, I thought Jorge concealed something, only to discover the secrets lay within me. That night, I resolved to confess, not about Louis but the investigation. I had to admit I hired someone. I needed to be honest, even if it shattered everything. When Jorge returned home, I requested him to sit. Prepared, I remained silent as he broke the ice. "Deborah," he said, "how long have you been spying on me?" He seemed to know already. But his next words altered everything. "I forgive you for that." However, he posed another question. "Are you in love with him?" I could not respond because I myself was unaware of the truth. The silence following Jorge's inquiry was not merely quiet. It was a verdict, a line I dared not recross. Because it wasn't lack of knowledge, but an innate feeling within me. After enduring months of longing for a sympathetic ear and affirming gaze, one can mistake tranquility for affection, or perhaps, for someone who has been emotionally deprived for so long, they become indistinguishable. Jorge stood up slowly, as if my silence had shattered something within him. He didn't shout, he didn't ask again, but picked up his keys and left towards the door. "Deborah, you were mistaken about me," he said. "I wasn't unfaithful. I was simply exhausted. But you continued to visit." He did not. Then he departed. And with that, my marriage dissolved in a hush. The following days passed in a daze. I hoped for his return, for confrontation, for questions. Yet he never came. And Louis? He appeared at my door 3 days later, not bearing flowers, not offering vows, but simply with a tranquil presence that had become familiar to me, resolute, patient, waiting. I allowed him entry. We conversed. I shared everything. He listened as usual before speaking, shattering me once more. "Deborah, he wasn't your affection, it was the attention, safety, solace you craved. I offered it since I recognized that void within you." I nodded back, tears threatening to spill. "You deserve genuine love," he told me, "but not from someone who found their way into your life for payment." And just like Jorge, Louis departed too after 4 months. My home feels too vast, pristine, and silent now. I haven't spoken with Jorge since that fateful night. Rumors say he moved to a tiny flat near the city outskirts. He hasn't filed for divorce yet, but maybe that's just a matter of time. I ponder Louis sometimes, questioning whether my feelings were merely a stand-in for affection, a makeshift patch on a wounded heart. In retrospect, I see a woman clinging to a lifeline not because it was love, but because it was accessible. I didn't lose my husband due to his infidelity. Instead, it was my lack of trust that led to our separation. My suspicion took over as my guiding force, and loneliness served as the messenger. In my pursuit of uncovering the truth, I became the one who destroyed it. Now here I am, alone, not because I was betrayed, but because I was petrified of being betrayed. I unwittingly pushed away the person who remained loyal. It wasn't that I caught Jorge cheating. Instead, I discovered my own downfall. This truth is a burden I must bear. If this story resonated with you in any way, I would be grateful for your thoughts. Please leave a comment below. I read each one thoughtfully. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support is invaluable. It fuels these genuine real-life narratives. Until next time, take care of your heart and trust it. However, always remember to safeguard it as well.